So I think we can start, and I will share my screen. I hope you see it. Do you see my screen?
Yes, Andrii, we can see your screen.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. And today we will discuss what should you know when you prepare for theory part of interview. As previous one, I will describe which general types of interviews we have, how they proceed, and also we will discuss how can you prepare and what are important topics for preparation, maybe the most important stuff. And I will recommend one resource which will cover, I think, everything, and I will show. So, first, which stage we have? And first stage, I think always it's call with HR, intro call. I will go briefly what we have, and after it, I will go with details. First one is intro call with HR. After it, you have technical interview, and maybe it will be one technical interview, and it can be few steps, few stage of technical interviews. Also, almost all time I met team culture interview. After it, I had manager interview, and final stage, it's offer interview if you pass all previous stages. And now I will describe what we will have in each of stage. First one, intro call with HR. A very important point because it's your entry point to this interview process. And in general, HR introduce company and introduce project. After it, she or he will ask you about your motivation and your experience. For this step, you should prepare some short introduction about yourself. Who are you? Which experience you have? And what do you search in this position? And also very important stuff that you should prepare, also answer why do you search new opportunities. And small, and I think not small, tip that you should not say never that previous project is very bad or previous company is awful and I am searching something new. No, you should not say it anyway. Maybe your company is real awful company, but you should not say it. For HR, it's some kind of red flag where HR will reject your CV or reject you from this process. Very important stuff because I know a lot of students, a lot of friends who rejected who was rejected by this reason, by this problem. And yeah, it's real important. And you need to prepare some answers. What is it? So what is your motivation? Why do you search new position? And what is your experience? The best case when you can tell everything during 2 minutes, not more. You don't need to go through all details. You don't need to go through all moments which you want to mention. No, you should do it briefly. And if needed, HR will ask questions about details and you will describe them. It's first point and it's the easiest one. because HR only checks you, and sometimes HR can ask some technical questions. They will be easy, but HR want to understand that you knows basics. I don't know why. My suggestion is that there are not good guys who try to be to apply for senior developer, for example, but they don't have any knowledge and so on. So HR also can check it, but in general, no. Only tell about the company and ask few general questions. After it, you will receive invite for technical interview. And technical interview is the most complex part. I can say difficult, because if you're experienced software engineer, it will not be a problem for you anyway. But if you prepare for this one, and it's also big mistake for guys, they think, okay, I know a lot, I have great experience, and go to interview and fail. Why? Because as I said previously, interview is not real coding, and on interview you should say about your experience, say about your knowledge, and you can show it. So you should be a good person who can speak a lot and speak good about yourself. And it's also a problem for interviewers, because sometimes you can be good speaker but bad coder, and they can find out it only after employment you, and it's also a problem for them. But it's real life, and now we don't have mechanisms which can help us with this. So technical interview. Technical interview can be split by few stages, and each technical interview can contain different sub-parts of it. For example, technical interview can be one long interview, but with different parts. For example, live coding, technical questions, architectural questions, and behavioral questions. Sometimes you will have few interviews, few technical interviews, and one of it will be live coding, second one will be technical questions about language, other one will be technical question about architecture, and so on. Different company, different requirements, and different processes. And you should be ready for everything. For me, for example, I always ask HR about process. How many interviews will I have, and which stages will be? And it will help me to plan this interview, and I understand briefly how can I prepare for it. So live coding. Live coding was discussed by previous lection, and I think we cover a lot. We cover online live coding, we cover offline live coding. When you receive task, do it everything, and after it you will check this solution of task. Or it can be some on-site live coding. So you come to company on site, they give you laptop with task, and you do it, and interviewer will stay behind you. So we discussed this one. Next one, language technical questions. Really, I don't like this step, because I think if they try to find senior software engineer, or in general software engineer, it's not about language. It's about your skills, how you create application, how you think about border cases, possible problems, and so on. And these questions can help to understand which mindset you have and how you resolve problems. Knowing some language specific stuff, for example, which methods are present in class string, for example, or how many byte is used when you declare integer variable. I don't know if it's really needed, if you can Google it, but you can't Google how to create solution, or how can you create high load application. Okay, you can try to Google it, but there is no a lot of information, and you need to mix all possible articles to create your own solution, and you need to think about this solution. Knowledge of methods from class, I don't know if it's really needed, but also we can have different questions for technical part. And for example, for Java, we have some questions about collections, about Stream API, about Java memory model. And I think, yes, it's really interesting questions. And I think they should be not a lot of time, a lot of questions. Only briefly, if you understand and if you know your language which you use, and do you know this language well? And only deep questions can answer on it. And also, I prefer to ask, for example, if I am interviewer, I prefer to ask some stuff which I use really every day. And also stuff which I use on my project. For example, I had project with text processing, and we used hash maps a lot. It's Java data structure. And okay, I asked a lot questions about hash map because we needed to understand hash map deeply, because all our algorithms are built using hash maps. And I asked this one. But in general, I think not all projects are about relating. Not all projects are related with text processing. So if in your company you create only APIs, simple APIs, I don't know why you should ask deeply how reset, for example, is implemented or something like that. But we have different companies, and they have different interviewers, and in general, interviewer will decide how he will proceed this interview. And anyway, you can mark this stuff in your mind, because if you are asked with a lot of technical questions about your language and not questions about how to create architecture, how to write code clean, how to communicate between microservices, for example. For me, for example, it's a red flag that this interviewer is not good. And maybe if interviewer is not good, company can be not good too. And when I had a lot of interviews, I found that really, if interview process is bad, you can go to Glassdoor and find not good reviews of this company. Not 100%, but I think this correlation is okay. It's language technical questions, and you should prepare it. Why? Because maybe you use IDE, and it create a lot of code by itself, and you didn't do some cycles, for example, streams and so on. So a lot of code is generated by IDEA, and it's problem for you because you can forget some basic knowledge about this language. And you should go to Google and Google, for example, interview questions for and define language name and check which questions can be asked and check if you're okay with them or not. If no, you should cover these gaps, fill that gaps. Next one, the most interesting for me, I think, it's architectural technical questions. They can show you as software engineer who can create applications. And there you can be asked by a lot of different questions. For example, which architectures of applications you know, monoliths and microservices? What are pros and cons of them? How will you create application? For example, you will start from database layer. After it, you will create application on your language. After it, you will create a deployment for this application. You will containerize it with Docker and so on. And I will describe later what can be asked here. But also, next stage can be behavior questions. What does they mean? They mean questions about how will you resolve conflict in team. For example, you create pull request and somebody create really nasty comments for your code, and how will you proceed this one? Or, for example, not big trouble, somebody commented your pull request and you don't agree with this comment. How will you proceed it and how you will resolve this issue? Also can be few questions. For example, you have microservice and you see that this microservice responds with big delay. How will you investigate what's going wrong? Also, we can have questions. For example, you have feature and you have not clear requirements. How will you fill these gaps about requirements? How you will find out how it should be in real world? And so on. A lot of different behavioral questions, and you can find this list in Google too. Yes, there are parts of technical interview. After it, you will have team culture interview. Optional step, but very interesting. You can meet your team, and you will ask also different behavioral questions, also about conflicts, also about how will you proceed issues. For example, you have feature and this feature requires a lot of changes, and changes are very critical. What will you do? How will you make decision, and so on? So also interesting step where you will ask some of tricky questions about your mindset and behavior. After it, you will have manager interview, also optional stuff, and he will ask also about motivation, conflict resolution, problem solving, and so on. So sometimes, a lot of time, manager repeat these questions from previous steps. And also he can answer on your questions. For example, about your growing inside company, how processes are built there, your responsibilities, and so on. And last one is offer interview. Sometimes they send only email with offer, and you can agree or not, or they create interviews. So they will present offers, they will present perks, and you can understand if everything is okay, and you can ask questions. They are final questions for you, and this interview is very important. And also, as separate point, I highlighted Google-like interview because they are similar and they have next steps. Google-like, I mean interview to Amazon, Facebook, or other FAANG companies, or less popular companies using this pattern too. And we have next stages. First, intro call, you know it. You have HR call, and it can be culture interview. So HR will ask about your mission, your culture, your motivation, and so on. After it, you will come to office, and you will have few rounds of interviews, one by one. First, it will be team fit, so you will meet your team, and they will ask a lot of questions. Or you will meet your team lead, future team lead, and he will ask how you will behave with different situations, how you will proceed problems, how you will resolve issues. After it, you will have technical interview. Technical interview means theoretical questions about any area of knowledge, software engineering, I mean. After it, you will have live coding. And this live coding can be, as I said, for example, they give you idea or laptop, and interviewer will stay behind you, and you should prepare a solution. After it, you will have system design interview, the most interesting part for me, as I think. There, they can say, question is very easy. How will you create WhatsApp? How will you create Twitter? Or something like that. And that's all. Only one question. And you should create this system. You should define all points of in architecture. You should create all application which will work with huge amount of users. For example, if we have WhatsApp, and I was asked about WhatsApp, how you will build this application, how will you work with this big amount of users, with big geography of users, and so on. And last one, manager interview, you can ask all questions. I like this type of interview because you should spend one day for them, and that's all. This process really short. And after it, you will have offer interview with your offer. Yes. Next one. Which topics are important? For me, I defined this list. So important topics, language. So if you apply for Java software engineer, you should know Java. If you apply for Python software engineer, you should know it. And in general, you should know what is it. You should know basic construction. You should know specifics of this language. For example, collections. If we say about Java, and I can say only about Java, I don't know other languages. For example, JavaScript or Go. I know only Java. And you should know specifics of this language, how memory works, how collections works, some interesting moments, for example, Stream API or Streams IO Neo, and so on. Also, I included in this option solid. You should know solid principle, you should know dry principle, keys, and so on, because it's a part of clean code, and clean code, very important stuff. Maybe next one, I will add it now, this testing. How will you test your code? And here you can cover unit testing, integration testing, and yeah, I think it will be enough for you as for developer, and you should know how to implement it using your language. For example, for Java, we have JUnit, we have Mockito, we have test containers, and so on. And you should know how to do it. And also, a lot of companies ask about TDD as approach for writing tests. But for example, my experience doesn't cover TDD in commercial development, but sometimes it is asked. Next one, databases. Any application have some data storage, and you should not know about it. SQL, no SQL, depends on tech stack. For example, for Java, almost all projects have SQL database. For JavaScript, as I know, it's no SQL database like Mongo and so on. So databases, it's important. And inside databases, you should know everything about transactions and ACID. These two questions were asked by me a lot of times. I think it's very important topic. And in general, when you create application, when you create server application, it works with huge amount of users. And in general, for each user we create, or for each request, we create separate thread. And it should be, our application should work with multi-threading approach, and everything should be thread safe. And transactions, ACID can help us with it to understand how to implement it. Or we should understand how it's implemented in database. Also, next stuff, it's patterns. Patterns, it's usual coding, and you should also know it. It's general approach for all languages, OOP languages, maybe, and as developer, you must know them and know which pattern you should use. Also, very important stuff, a very important topic, it's troubleshooting and performance analysis. It is the most complex topic because you can't find articles with these manuals, and each situation requires different set of actions. So the best, how to say it, the best knowledge source is your experience. And the best one when you have production experience, production support experience, and you know how to analyze problems and make troubleshooting. For example, I said you about microservice which have delays, and for example, we can have problems with database. What should we do if we execute query and this query executed very slow, and so on. Or generic example, on UI, you have button. You click on this button and something loading more than 2 minutes, and after it, you will have results. how will you analyze why we have so big delay? And is it okay to have this delay or not? And you should describe steps. How will you analyze? The best approach, you will start from front end. You will check what's happened on front end. Maybe it's problem on front end side, and if you backend developer, you should go to front end engineer and say, look, you have problem in UI and you should fix it. And I don't know how. I am only software backend software engineer, so I can only say that you have problem, and I can help you to reproduce it. If front end is okay, you can move forward to backend side. Using front end, you understand which request is executed to server, which data sent, and after it, you can start to analyze inside your backend application where problem is. In general, the most of cases, the problem is in database when we create slow queries, or we use bad code who executes a lot of queries to database, for example. But sometimes we see that everything is okay in database, in our application, but connection between database and application is slow. And we need to check network. We need to check what's going on this low level, on this low level side. And maybe sometimes we need to fix there something. After it, I think also the most important topics for senior software engineer, it's understanding of architecture and, for example, microservices, because now it's very popular approach to create applications. And inside microservices, we should know how make communication between microservices. And we have REST, SOAP, gRPC, and for documenting API, we have Swagger, for example, or Blueprint. We have message broker for asynchronous communication between services and so on. And we should know, for example, how to build REST API, or what are pros and cons of SOAP and REST, or why or when we can use gRPC, and so on. And also about message brokers, where and how we use them. And architecture, the most interesting questions are about microservices, because, for example, how will you create distributed transactions there? How you will build communication between them? How will you build service discovery, and so on. And also about monoliths. What cons of monoliths, or what pros of it? So I think it's the most important topics for preparing to interview higher than junior position. So middle and senior. And I found one interesting resource which will cover almost all these topics. I really like this one. It's Interview Bit, and here you have really huge amount of topics which you can cover. For example, go to our list and you want to cover language topic. Okay, we go to this site and find something. For example, as for me, I want to know Java. So for Java, you see, you have Hibernate, you have OP, you have Java. Where is Java? You have Java 8. Also, as I remember, somewhere you have Java it's other set of questions. Yeah, for example, for Java, also we can see JDBC, we can see Spring, we can see servlets. It's also part of Java. Separate topic Java collections, as I mentioned, and a lot of stuff. Spring security, for example, a lot of topics. And for all of them, you can go deep. And here you will see, okay, how to close it. Yes. You have list of questions and you have answers for these questions. And I really like them because they are very detailed. For example, for Java collection, you can see these images, how it works inside, which collections we have at all, how they work, what is the difference between them, and so on and so on. So really a lot of information for you for preparing. And you also can see that there is a section for experienced developer. So we go very deep and so on. So and all topics very detailed on this site. For example, if we go, I don't know, Java. Okay, Java. We have a lot of questions with explanation, with examples, with pictures. So I think very cool. You can create some preparation plan and say, okay, firstly, I want to cover Java. After it, I want cover Java 8 questions. After it, I want cover, for example, PLSQL from Oracle. And you will have list of topics which you need to cover. And for me, for example, it was really useful. And I respect this site. Here you see a very big amount of topics. For example, CI/CD, Angular, data structures, Kafka for me was very important because I was applied to developer who need Kafka and deep understanding of Kafka, and it was very useful. Also, there is, as I remember, system design. System design. Yes, system design topic. Also cover it. And what is subtheorem? What is horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, difference? And here you see, yeah, very short description how we should design Facebook, for example. But for this one, better to go to YouTube and find the topics and really detailed explanation how you should design Facebook. For example, system design, what's up? You Google it and you can find articles, but for me was very helpful. Yes, this guy who described everything very detailed with different examples, and he shows points which you have covered and so on. I really like him. I subscribe it from other account, and you can use this information. So Gaurav Sam, I watched almost all his videos. They are really useful, and for me, for preparation to interviews, and also I found out a lot of new information about system design and how to create really high-load applications. Yeah, I think that's all. It was briefly how to prepare for theory and which steps you will have, and how to prepare for them. Do you have any questions?
No, I have not, Andrew.
Excellent. So I think it was helpful for you. And as I said last session, that I need your feedback. If you have something to say, we can go to Slack and you can left comments and say what was okay, what was bad, and I will improve.
Hello, Andrew.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just unfortunately, I have a little question. There's this site you showed us where you said you could prepare for interview questions. Please, what is the name of this site? And I would like to confirm, is it free or paid?
Sorry, I hear you very bad. Can you repeat this question?
Okay, yeah, I said there's this site you showed to us, right? Where you said we
Yeah.
could prepare for interview questions. I was asking what's the name of this site and is it free or paid?
Free. You can go to this site, you click to resources, and this you see interview guides, and everything is free here. So you should close this advertisement pop-up, and all of these topics is free, and YouTube videos also free. I don't like to recommend something paid, only lead code, because lead code, and as I said, you remember, you should not buy this premium subscription. Free subscription will be fully enough for you.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. I just needed this. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So if you have no questions, remember my private messages are open for you. So if you have questions, go to me at Slack, and I will wait your feedbacks. And have a good evening. See you on Monday.
And you too. Take care.
Bye.